Welcome one, welcome all to episode 215 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Saturday, February 3rd, 2024. I'm your host, Luke Lohr, the InsipidGhost, joined by my co-host, the intrepid Captain Logun. And in today's episode, we are discussing the now confirmed massive success of Palworld as an Xbox exclusive. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has a divisive narrative as reviews are now rolling out to consumers, and Activision Blizzard has new leadership. As always, we hope you enjoy the show. Logun, we like to start the show by offering words of kindness to those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. It has been a stressful week at work, and it's been an interesting week in gaming. But last night I got to jump into Suicide Squad, and I'm looking forward to talking about that. But overall, I'm just kind of hanging out, just enjoying the week. I think this is the highlight right now. I getting to sit down. You know, we got some bad news yesterday, but wanting to sit down and talk with you. How about you?
It's been a good week. Difficult at work also, but I mean, that's kind of par for the course. It was nice to get back into routine because January is a strange month for school, at least where I work, because there's no consistent week. There's been testing or holidays. We had 2-hour early release because of weather. We had days off because of weather and just weird oddities. And so it was really nice to get back into a cadence and rhythm. It's very hard on children to break their routines. So it was nice to get back into it, which is interesting. And I really like the topics we're going to be teaching coming up. So that's been good. And then on the Xbox side, we got to release our interview with Stephen Totilo, which was really exciting and not nearly as stressful as releasing the Cliff Bleszinski interview, because how people respond to things will show up in our mentions, right? And those timelines really change based on how things are received. So it was really cool to see so many people enthusiastic about both interviews over the course of the last 2 weeks. But it seems like people really enjoyed Stephen Totilo's commentary on games journalism, what it meant to be a reviewer, a critic versus a reporter versus a content creator. Very insightful and enlightening, and I really enjoyed that. And of course, a lot of people latched on to the Sea of Thieves discussion that you two had, which I really enjoyed, because we had a journalist come with his sources. We had an experienced content creator and you with your own sources come and compare notes, talk about the goods, the wants, the bads, how it would work and help out with one another to bring Sea of Thieves to PlayStation or any other platform. I really enjoyed that debate. So if you'll forgive me, my words of kindness are to both you and Stephen Totilo, because to sit back and listen was really cool. I really enjoyed that.
That's funny, because that's actually my words of kindness go out to Steven as well too. It's not too often that you get to chat with someone who's got their finger on the pulse of gaming news. You know, like we have a lot of folks on like X and Twitter and Threads and stuff that like we're always kind of up to date with like the immediate happenings of what's going on with gaming and stuff. When we got to sit down and talk, there was clearly like things that even I hadn't refreshed Twitter, so I hadn't seen like the news come out that he was bringing up. And after we got done with the interview, I'd refresh Twitter, and then I was like, my gosh, he was like on top of it as we were recording and stuff. And I was like, that is always impressive and fun. I always love when you get to chat with someone who is fully engrossed with what's going on with gaming, especially when you know how talented of a journalist they are. Like, you don't get that too often. It's really cool.
I especially appreciated how we could comment on the change of games journalism, because his history, you know, going backwards, Axios, Kotaku, MTV News, there was one other in there that I couldn't remember, but he had a history of like being there when that coverage element was relevant. And as its relevancy or credibility declined, it's like he exited to start a new thing. And that to me speaks a lot to a journalist's integrity when they move to where they can get an audience, be honest with that audience, and comment on things. And I really appreciated one of the points he said, and I'm not sure if you locked onto it, people, reporters or self-proclaimed reporters, would say things like our industry is dying, and his problem with that was our industry, the reporting industry,
Yeah.
or the games industry that you are supposed to be reporting objectively on. Very interesting discussion there. I liked that. And so I don't mean to wax poetic about that interview, but it was insightful and I appreciated that.
Yeah. Yeah. And him doing his own thing, like kicking up his own baby with GameFile, that's kind of nice because it's nice to see that he's able to kind of make his own thing
Mm-hmm.
and not be beholden to like corporations trying to dictate like how things go. You always have to kind of balance out like, okay, where's the person's motivation versus like when they're working for a company. But it was kind of cool overall just to chat with him.
Agreed. Quite separately from that, in a week where we saw a PlayStation State of Play that many thought was fantastic, whereas I also was like, I'm not so sure. It depends. I thought it very much lived and died on Death Stranding and your interest in that. Xbox had news of their own exclusive hitting massive success, which I was really, really impressed and surprised by, and that is Palworld, Pokemon with Guns. We talked a bit about it last week. It's far more than Pokemon with Guns. That's just
That'll never not be a funny thing to me.
It is indeed quite amusing. But Palworld did very well. We reported on it last week. We talked about it, but we got numbers. We got numbers for this week, which was really interesting. And on Steam, Palworld has sold, mind you, 12 million copies. And on Xbox, the number of Game Pass players is at 7 million, accounting for 19 million at the time that we pulled numbers, and it was only going up. Pretty darn incredible, all things considered. There was an Xbox Wire article, and for anyone that's unfamiliar, Xbox Wire is Xbox's news reporting outlet, so it is their own news reporting outlet. Just to make sure we're clear, but they brought a quote from Takuro Mizobi, the CEO of Pocket Pair, which they're the ones that, of course, make Palworld. He said, across console and Windows PC, Palworld has welcomed more than 7 million players and has recently reached a peak of nearly 3 million daily active users on Xbox, making it the most played game on our platform at the time. Speaking to Xbox Wire, CEO of developer Pocket Pair said, the response from fans has been tremendous, and it's incredible to see the millions of players around the world enjoying Palworld. This is just the beginning for us in Palworld, and the feedback we're gathering while in game preview will allow us to continue to improve the experience for Pal tamers across all platforms. End quote. That was really, really neat to see his words, see the numbers that were coming out. What I found so neat about it is that in conjunction with his statement, in conjunction with the numbers released by Xbox Wire, was also the statement that Xbox has been funneling engineers and support staff to Pocket Pair to bring the Xbox version in line with the PC version, because there is some difference there. I think I said this on last week's show. I'm not 100% sure if it was last week's show or somewhere else, but Ainsley Bowden once told me that they were light years apart, and then I had other contextual reports saying it's not nearly light years apart, but there does need to be better parity between the two.
Yeah.
That said, 7 million players on Game Pass. Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. This is indeed the exclusive, the hit that Xbox desperately needed, I think, for Game Pass. We know Starfield did big numbers for them. We know that they have worked to kind of fill out that content, but for Game Pass to get an exclusive in the console space is big. I was taken aback. You've played Palworld. Is this justified?
I think so. I've been having a fun time with it, dude. I've created 2 worlds, and this is where I'm hoping like Xbox will kind of be able to get some dedicated servers so that they can open it up the things so that you can actually have like a persistent world. Because right now, someone has to be in the world for other people to be able to join you to play, which is kind of on par with a few other games that we've had like last year with like Redfall, where you have to have people together to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. But sitting down and playing through that and going through like kind of the opening section and building up your base and stuff, it's cool. It's fun, like it's a very casual survival game in the way that Grounded feels like a very casual survival game. And the building I think needs work, but I think like the PAL capture system is fun. I think crafting and stuff, once you start getting things like automated, alleviates a lot of that pain that comes with most survival games. And I think that they've done a good job here. It's clear that they are pulling a lot of different things from other games, bashing them together to make something. And to no one's surprise, when you have a little bit of something from everything that is popular, people are going to like it. It's not too big of a surprise there. People, I think I saw commentary on Twitter about how a former lawyer from Pokemon Company said that it's just another one of those ripoffs that they used to see all the time. And it's like, that's fine if it's a ripoff, but if it's doing stuff that Pokemon isn't, and those things are things that people like to do in games, it's going to be popular, man. And 7 million is nothing to shirk across. I think the last numbers we got from Game Pass subscriptions was like around like 32.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, a fourth of Game Pass players playing Palworld on a version that isn't nearly as feature rich as the PC version.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a win for Xbox. It really speaks to the whole point of having exclusives. And if you look at the state of play, it's clear that Sony is still in the mindset of getting exclusives. So I don't see why Xbox shouldn't.
I agree. I think it's fantastic. I hope that Xbox, while they are working to bring parity in line, they're also working to build a relationship and lock this game down as theirs. Making Palworld on console synonymous with Xbox would be a great move, I think, for Microsoft in general. They need the win. Why not give them the win? At least that's my kind of casual take on it. I have to imagine that's happening already. That's in discussion. A lot of people were jumping the gun, I think, in saying that like, oh, they should buy Pocket Pair. Yeah. And it's like, all right, I see why you would say, I understand, but take a breath.
Yeah.
Right. Let's take a breath, because I don't see a world where it's just that easy. Not after you've just purchased a $70 billion publisher and laid off 1,900 and whatnot. Even if the layoffs were justified, not justified, that is not the debate, the discussion point. The reality is it just happened. Do you want that heat? Can you have that heat? Is there a legal element to it? So don't know, don't mind, but I'm curious to see kind of what happens going forward.
You don't got to buy everything. All right. Just, I'm subject to this where it's like, it's been a while and I haven't spent money and I get that like consumer itch to just buy something, and when people are playing with other people's wallets, like it's easy to just be like, oh yeah, buy it. It's popular. This is like an untested game. This is a very flash in the pan possibility here. Like, let's give it 6 months and see if this game, like lives out some of the zeitgeist and the romance period, or the honeymoon period, like
right.
Maybe let's see if we can get parity between the versions and get crossplay working and PvP and dedicated servers and all that good jazz before we start jumping on the let's buy this studio thing. Because I think they've even stated that they're starting to look at what other games they can make right now, and it's like, this is like, Palworld is the biggest game they've ever made. It will probably end up being the biggest game that they ever make, and they're they've got a lot of work to do before Xbox is going to be like, oh yeah, let's scoop them up. And even then, you don't have to. It's okay. Just pay the exclusivity contract and let them do their thing.
Agreed. I really do agree, and I'm curious to see how quickly Xbox, can get this in line. We know that they have tried really hard to address concerns with third-party publishers, developers, as time has gone on. Like, they will give engineers, we'll go work with we'll go work with. We'll send people from the coalition to work with Unreal Engine to help you with your game on Xbox. We'll help, do whatever we can to make your experience on our platform better. They did it with Larian Studios. They've done it with a number of other.
And they've had other studios do it for each other too. Like they've had like the Sea of Thieves team go to talk to Playground Games to figure out how to make water look better for Forza and stuff. Like that happens all the time. And Xbox always seems very willing to lend support, either positively or negatively. Who knows, like if this is a detriment to this, like, all right, guys, we're going to send off 4 of your engineers to go for a week to help out this studio we don't own. It's like, wait, whoa, what about our games? Like, we don't know like how that all works out, but the fact that this is kind of a thing that they're willing to do shows that Xbox, in my mind, understands the potential marketability of the games that they are trying to help like bring people in for, which is, as a consumer level, is only going to improve the quality of life for consumers. So let them do that. They don't have to go buying it. And just let them kind of see like how things go. Let's just let Palworld breathe and continue to play. Suicide Squad right now is the most the biggest game that's kind of come out that people are kind of talking about a lot. We've had other really good games this year like Yakuza Infinite Wealth and Tekken 8. There's plenty of really good games right now to be talking about. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, which is Palworld.
That's actually one of our later topics, is just how impressive Game Pass has been at bringing games like Yakuza and Persona and really trying to strengthen the Japanese influence market in general. I just think they've done a lot of work. It doesn't need to live and die on Palworld. Similarly, jump on it while the iron's hot. There is debate for both of those things, and I respect and appreciate that. It'll just be a fun thing to watch. If you are playing, I will say to any listener, if you're playing Palworld and you have thoughts on it, disagree, agree, please let us know. We've seen a lot of discussion in our Discord about it, and it's been fun to watch. They've got a lot of different debates going. There's a whole section of our Discord dedicated just to Palworld. So if you're there, check it out. It is fun. I'm just curious to see kind of where we go with this. Is this a flash in the pan and it goes away? Or is this going to become a mainstay next to titles like Fortnite, like Call of Duty, like Destiny, like Diablo? Like, where does this game land down the line? I'm interested.
Yeah, same.
So, all right. Well, there we go with that one. Really appreciate those of you that are talking about Palworld in our Discord, and I want to give a shout out to those members. Those are patrons of the show. They have been immensely supportive and allowed us to adjust our content delivery and adapt as the show has gone on over time. I did make some changes to the Patreon a little bit. Tiers 2 and 3 are now the same. It's just a matter of how you can, want, or are willing to support XEP, because every dollar from here on out this year is going to go towards the potential trips to Xbox Fan Fest, E3, so I can meet Logan and see some games firsthand. And if that doesn't happen, then it'll be used all for game coverage, software, that kind of thing. But we appreciate all of you that have taken the time over at patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass to support the show, to help us get games for coverage, make those trips, etc. If you've ever done a super chat on YouTube or thrown money, as a tip for anything on a various platform, bits on Twitch, consider a Patreon. That's how it helps us. Logan, we've got our tier 2 and 3 shout outs this week. I wonder if you wouldn't mind reading those names this week.
Yeah. Thank you to the tier 2 and tier 3 patrons. Definitely appreciate the love and support that you bring, not only to the Discord, but just to the podcast and content that we put out in general. So thank you to Chris, 1HD or 1H1D, which, if you don't know, is 1 hour, decision. No,
1 hour, one decision. Yeah. You joined us on the community episode.
Yeah. And I a very interesting approach. I definitely appreciate that. Nicholas Johnson, Ellery Woods Parker III, Nicholas Downey, Rob Frawley II, Tao Zochi, Xbox Skittle, Steel Rain, Matto 1606, Randall Thor 19, Silkenit, Rick Gaffney, African aka Charles Jones, Game Positive, Jampack Sam, Matt Valdez, Neo Prime 33, Rick Davis, Red Beast, Xbox Mike 29. Sorry, Mike. The Lord Sir Master James Suddy, Brendan Myers, aka the Winter Gamer, Sony's VP of Marketing, Kevin Butler, Clint Coombs, DJ Hero, and Dano12. Thank you all for your love, your support. It means the world to us that you want to spend time with us and support us monetarily. I don't know what else I can do to convince Luke to try and buy a second monitor. He is consistently just, he's like, I have a TV already. Why do I need a second monitor? And I keep telling him, you can have one monitor for when you're looking at us, and then you can have another monitor for a web browser. Hear me out. And he's,
am I getting enough trouble for getting distracted? Do I really need more distractions?
I don't give you any crap for that.
No, you don't, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
you can just turn off that monitor when you're talking to Ains and Joe, because they have their own insecurities about focusing on content. Like, that's fine. Like, you can do both.
Oh, that was a fun episode. Hey, we mentioned our community episode. That was a blast. That was cool. We had the biggest turnout from patrons. I had 7 tracks that I needed to edit and adjust for that one, which was dope, because in the first one it was just you, Ellery, and myself, and then Clint and Butch joined, and now Nick Johnson and Chris from 1H1D. Todd Oxtra's been on. It's so cool, those community episodes. Those are truly my favorite part about XEP.
You know what cracked me up was seeing Nicholas talk about how, like, he was on one community podcast and now he went out and bought a microphone, a mic arm, and a mixer.
Did he really? I didn't see that.
Just in the Discord, in the community section.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Really funny. It's like, one podcast. I'm a podcaster.
It was a podcaster. He needs it. That's cool.
It's funny when you actually hear the recording, like how you're like, oh man, I need to make it look and sound better. I can throw some money towards this. Yeah,
that is neat. I think it's fun. The community episodes are my favorite part, but also that we have a section for anyone that doesn't know about our Discord. There's a section for patrons to put their own content creation links in there. Seeing John Wall and Ellery and 1H1D and Todd Oxtra put their links to their content in there, and then watching our community drop likes and go and jump into chats is just the warmest feeling in the world, right? Yeah. Like, it feels the best. Like, we'll get back on topic in a second, but like, we had a lot of attention in the last 2 weeks as a result of Cliff Blazinski's interview and Stephen Totillo, and we had some great guests on XEP through January, and we'll continue to do that through the year. I think we'll try and do more of that, but that attention is not the goal. The goal is community, and that might seem odd to some people because numbers mean a lot to a lot of people, but to have a community episode, to have a patron Discord where people are dropping their own content and being supportive and kind, and like, we all have thoughts on games, right? Like, we're about to talk about Suicide Squad. Nobody has mocked anyone's opinion on playing Suicide Squad. No one's mocked anyone's opinion on playing Redfall or Call of Duty at all. Like, we jokingly tease about Battlefield and COD, but like, there's no actual console hate. A couple of them regularly play on PlayStation. I think Butch is a regular PlayStation guy. Nobody's ever given him mess about it. It's just such a warm and welcoming place, and that makes me so happy. So happy.
Yeah. So yeah, it's nice to have a fun place to kind of chat with folks about stuff. And I think genuinely most people are pretty supportive. And it's a small enough group now that everyone's kind of familiar with each other. So it's like the conversation just casually flows on a regular basis, and nobody's like vying for attention or anything, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of vying for attention, Suicide Squad, man, right?
Ooh, Suicide Squad, kill the Justice League. Lots of debate about this one, and we'll give context here. First, Suicide Squad review codes went out very sparingly. I saw only I think 3 people that are in my circle that got codes. 2 of them were Canadian, which tends to be a very different set of PR outlets and firms. But Suicide Squad did not give codes to major outlets, including IGN, which there was much a hullabaloo about that. You and I did not get codes from Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I purchased the early access edition, the $100 version. You purchased the standard edition, I want to say. Yeah. Okay. So there's 2 conversations to be had. One, the review debacle, and 2, our experiences with it. At this time, I am 14 hours in to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I have removed 3 or 4 members of the Justice League from the table. Infer that how you like. I don't know. I don't know if they're dead. It says I've killed them. I don't
They're
know.
sleepy. It's like a Pokemon. They fainted.
It's very. I don't know what's gonna happen. And you have put in about 4 hours. You were telling me, so 4 and 14 hours respectively between the two of us.
I'm trying to look it up right now.
Okay. So take that as you will, listener, as you're making your decisions. But certainly a divisive game. IGN's review was a 5 out of 10. And the reason I bring up IGN specifically is because they were the ones that were the primary source of conversation about the review codes, because it's very rare that they are denied codes. I have a lot of thoughts on this. In fact, I've written about half of a review right now. I think I've got 1,000 words written, and Logan, we think we might put this as our first video review for XEP.
Yeah, I think we should play around with that.
Okay, I'm down for that. And as we removed one of the things from shows from our patron list, I think there's time and interest. So I will continue investing in that. But I have a lot of thoughts on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League as a diehard Arkham fan, as someone who loves DC, as someone who has put a lot of time into a number of DC projects, Batman, comics, movies, everything. You can see the Gotham Knight statue behind me.
I remember when that was on sale, and I posted like how cheap it was, and you'd bought it brand new.
Oh, I bought it brand new, and I don't regret it. I'll say. I have a lot of thoughts here, but I wonder if you wouldn't mind guiding the discussion either with questions or your impressions, and I comment.
Okay, so to kind of kick things off, to set the stage, there's been a lot of folks kind of ready to kind of be negative about this, like right off the bat. It feels like a lot of people want a different game from Rocksteady, and I don't blame them, because I've looked at like what the games that they've built in the past and played a decent amount of them, but I've never beaten any of the Arkham games. It's like a on hit list kind of thing. Like if I ever get that itch, I'll sit down and kind of continue pushing through them. But having seen like what they've done with Suicide Squad, at least in the opening hours, I feel like Suicide Squad is really trying to build a different thing, and they're trying to build something that they are passionate about. And you can see where a lot of their lineage has been kind of interwoven with the game. So having only played through to the point, and I checked it, and I was right, I've got about 4.5 hours in. I've just barely gotten to the point where I can start working on crafting, and the world is open to me now. Like the map is available for me to kind of travel around and go do stuff, and I can go after my first Justice League member. You've mentioned off air that this was kind of the point where it was the most polished. So that's where it feels like there's a disconnect in a lot of the reviews, because a lot of the reviews are kind of panning this game. And I'm curious how you feel about it compared to what my experience is. Because right now my experience is really good. Like I feel like this is a pretty good game. I've really enjoyed the cutscenes. The humor is there. The story makes sense, and it feels like everyone's kind of playing their role. And as far as the combat goes, I've known since like the previous testing, I was going to be a Captain Boomerang main, and I'm playing through with that character and really enjoying my time with it. And I haven't wanted to switch between any of the other Justice League or the other Suicide Squad members. So at what point am I going to find out that this game is not as great of a game as I feel like it is right now?
Soon. I will say to anybody that is interested in Suicide Squad, DC fans especially, you should play this game. Get it on sale if you're on the fence, because it is a steep ask for $70, because there's a good chance you will either love it or hate it, and almost no in between. The early parts of the game, Logan, are the best parts of the game. From top to bottom, and I will say this very clearly, from top to bottom, Rocksteady's love for DC is here. It's on display. The gameplay is polished. There's very few bugs, which is pretty impressive for an open world game. Um, this is not a game that is broken. This is not a game that is you boot it up and you're like, why this frame rate? What's wrong with it? This doesn't look right. There's an uncanny none of that happens. And in the opening parts of the game, the opening hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, you're funneled to a nearly single player experience, a very confined, directed experience. I would say it is more Guardians of the Galaxy than it is like Arkham, in that it's a focused narrative. But you're about to arrive at the point where the game opens up, where what they do is they take away the funneled experience of the narrative, which to your point is hilarious. It's well written. Top to bottom, the game is well acted. The voice acting is wonderful. The writing decisions are debatable, but the voice acting is wonderful. The game is about to open up for you. And it is here that you see the identity crisis and the dichotomy of gameplay clash with one another, because you're going to now begin the open world fetch quest nature of a looter shooter. And that will force your traversal to change and adjust. And you're either going to love it or hate it, depending on the character you're with and how comfortable you are. And because it's a looter shooter where you're gaining XP and new abilities and augments and adjustments, your traversal will get easier over a number of hours. But in those early goings of the open world part, the traversal is very frustrating. At least I found it so. Like I'm currently maining Deadshot. I'm currently maining Deadshot, and I'm going to come back to the main part in a minute. The jetpack runs out of fuel so quickly, so early, that flying about the city is not really a thing. Now, he's Deadshot, not Superman. He's Deadshot, not Green Lantern. He's not supposed to fly around and that be the thing. But he has a jetpack that runs out, or overheats, I should say, pretty quickly. And then you have an extremely vertical city that now he is asked to traverse.
Yeah.
And you got to touch down before you can go back up. So you get this kind of bouncing effect early in the game. As you level up and adjust, you gain things that like 15% reduced cooldown time, 10% better fuel efficiency, or some variation of that. So you can fly longer, further, etc. So your traversal does get easier, and each of the characters has their own augments of this, including Boomerang's flash ability, which is really a teleport. It presents as a teleport anyhow. Further, faster recharge, better changes, better slowdown in between decisions. The traversal gets better, but if you're not comfortable with it, it's frustrating. And moreover, each is very different from the other.
Yeah.
So, and that's good, I would think, in a looter shooter, because you want your characters to feel very different. But the learning curve is so steep that transitioning to another character that you may in fact like more, then you have to go, that learning curve starts all over. And I think a lot of people are going to bounce off of that pretty quickly. I think they're going to find it and be like, oh, I don't know. The game does this is the main part, and then I'll stop for a moment. Yeah. The game does incentivize you to switch characters if you're playing single player by giving XP boost based on missions. So like this is a mission where taking on the Flash, for example, Captain Boomerang will get psyched up, is their term, and will gain bonus XP for whatever he does in that mission. So it incentivizes you to get off your main and go learn a new character. That only happens in the open world portions of the gameplay experience. It doesn't happen early on nearly as much. What was your question?
Oh, so one of the things that I wanted to bring up, and a couple points to the discussion around that. When you first kick off the game, and if you're watching the B-roll, this is the video that I wanted to capture so that folks got a chance to kind of see like what the traversal mechanics are for each character. When you boot up the game, you get this weird kind of vertical slice that doesn't feel like it's actually part of the main game. It feels like this is how they would have done like an E3 demo for folks. And it pushes you to use each of the different characters. And the reason for it is that they're tutorializing the traversal mechanics that you'll get when you actually kick off the game, so that you get a chance to play with each of the different characters, and you have to play with each of them, and you have to learn the traversal mechanics for each of them But when you're done, then you get to choose which character kind of worked best for you. And to speaking to the switching of your characters, the psyched up options to be able to switch characters, you can switch characters on the fly. It doesn't have to be at the start of a mission. It doesn't have to be when they're psyched up. You can do it whenever you want. And one of the things that I've seen is each character, when you're playing with your NPC versions and not the versions that you can have that are the ghosts of your friends that you've played with, you can have it set up so that they auto equip loot. So if you get an SMG or a pistol or a rifle that Boomerang is not going to use, you can have it so that your characters automatically equip loot that is in your inventory that you are not using if it is better than what they are currently using. And to me, that really kind of gives you that freedom to be able to trust that your characters are going to be playing with better gear at the as often as possible, and that B, you can switch over to them and not have to worry about too much. Like they'll already be like working with good gear that you found along the way. And the talent tree system right now feels very simplistic. It's literally just you can have each, there's guided builds that you can go with that are labeled something that you can go into. So like with Boomerang, there's like a hit and run, and then there's like a range like thing in each one. If you're not really sure what it is, you can just say like, okay, well, my gameplay style is hit and run. I love to jump in, I love to melee, and then I love to shoot guys with the shotgun while they're up in the air, and then I like to get out and then do it all over again. So every time I look at the talents, I will look for the talents that say hit and run. And then I'll read that talent and see if that's something like, is that going to augment my gameplay so much that it's going to be a detriment? Or is this just a slight boost to the way that I play? And I think that they've done a really good balance of trying to like give you depth, but have enough tools to identify the easy thing. So like each piece of gear has like a quick reference at the very top. It has up for attack and down for protection. And you can quickly like judge based on those if an item that you get is better or worse than what you have. Would you agree with that, or would you say that there's too much depth that isn't alleviated enough?
I love the auto equip feature. It does alleviate a lot of that pressure. I have found mixed results in them auto equipping, and that I paid paid $100 on this bad boy. In the early access, maybe that was a bug. Maybe it just wasn't working the way it was intended, or maybe I wasn't understanding. But like having played 10 hours, Boomerang still had some of his white gear equipped, right? You know, white, green, blue, purple, gold, right? That's the standard. Some of his white gear was still equipped, and I had to go in and adjust that. There's a lot of the reason I think the game falls apart partway through is when it becomes the looter shooter. Suddenly you're going to visit Poison Ivy, Penguin. You're going to visit Gizmo. You're going to visit, there's another one, Hack. And you're going to visit all these different characters to augment, adjust your weapons, craft your weapons, do this, that, or the other. It's a lot. There's a whole lot. And there is a really funny line in game that one of the characters says, it's like, what? Because you have to go liberate, the side missions are go liberate these arms manufacturer companies. It's like, there's a lot of that one. There's a lot of arms manufacturers in Metropolis. And it's like, a little weird.
I do like, so one of the things that I ran into was, and you've kind of spoilered a couple of the characters, so I'll toss this out, but Penguin and Gizmo, one of them is kind of part of the crafting mechanics. One of them's part of the traversal mechanics through like vehicles. And there's most definitely a point where each of them are kind of bidding for your loyalty. As you're heading out, and they're like, hey, you know, if you do this, then I'll help me out. If you do this for me, then it'd be better than if you did it for them, and stuff like that. Like I love that kind of catty comms that you hear. Like you hear comms all the time about like the little enemies, whatever they're called, talking about how like Batman's like souping up the forces and whatnot, and Green Lantern's just like laying waste to everyone, and you hear all that chit chat all the time. And there was a point where I think I talked to an NPC, and there was probably like a good solid 20 voice lines for a rando
Mm-hmm.
NPC. And I'm like, the investment was definitely here.
Very much
And
so.
and you can see like they put a lot of thought into building a world
Mm-hmm.
where it feels like everyone is part of that world. And I'm just really surprised that people are saying that it gets worse and worse and worse, because I see like there's a lot of good so far, and I'm not seeing the negatives yet.
Mm-hmm. That is that Rocksteady polish that is on display. Mind you, this is a Rocksteady that has had talent leave since the Arkham series, most notably Jamie Walker and Sefton Hill, who were the studio heads behind those Arkham games. But worse and worse, I think it's more like it just goes further and further off the rails. Yeah, you get those 20 voice dialogue lines, but I put up a clip on Twitter of me in a floating car flying around as a hovercraft, blasting enemies as if this was something out of Crackdown 2.
That was fun.
And it was fun, but it was not the superhero vibe game that I think people were expecting. It doesn't even feel like the rest of Suicide Squad. It just feels alien in this game. And so that's where you get that dichotomy I talked about, that identity crisis where you run into like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing here? What's the purpose? Am I traversing the game in an open world Crackdown-like DC game? Because it is Crackdown-like in a lot of ways, albeit hyper polished. Or am I playing a narrative-driven experience? And when you try to walk the line between two, you run into problems. See Anthem, see Destiny, see Avengers, which is going to be very commonly compared to, I think, over the next few weeks. See Gotham Knights, which is its own comparison point.
I have to call this out because I feel like we're talking about two different games and the approaches that they took and how one's working and one's not. With Suicide Squad, the way that they're kit bashing features together is a negative. With Palworld, it's a positive. So is it just that Palworld doesn't have dedicated people that have history rich backgrounds and a narrative that has to be fallen, that it's kit bashing of a game with features that feel completely out of place works? And that this has just got too much of emotional baggage with the characters and the world and the narrative that they're trying to tell, that people are rubbing up against the gameplay?
That is a great question. Mind you, I've not played Palworld, so I'm a little bit skewed here. But I will say that the baggage that Suicide Squad brings to the table can't be more pressure than a Pokemon-like baggage, right? Like Pokemon brings its own level of thought. But Suicide Squad would have benefited from not being in the Arkhamverse and being removed from those narrative needs, right? Because I feel in my 14 hours, the liberties they've taken with the story, the characters, and some of the writing, and I just got to a point where I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, it's so disrespectful to the writing that Arkham has had before that I'm very frustrated. Whereas Gotham Knights, I'm pointing to the statue behind me, was not bound by that. It was bound by expectations of an Arkham successor, but it wasn't bound by the story, right? So they could do what they wanted to and not disrespect or damage. Hold on, give me one second.
Okay, sorry.
Let me finish the one thought. So that is the baggage of a narrative. Now the baggage of feature bashing things together, you can mix and match any number of flavors together in ice cream, and you might strike gold. You might wince in pain, right? Like jalapeno and chocolate may not be your best bet, right? But you might get peanut butter and chocolate, and that's the best thing ever.
I think you're going to get so much flack for that jalapeno chocolate thing.
Oh, really? Is that a thing people eat?
I think it's a thing people eat.
Oh, cool. First of all, rock on if you do. But my point is sometimes maybe broccoli and chocolate. I don't know.
Okay.
My point is sometimes you get that Reese's peanut butter cup. Sometimes you get a Brussels sprout with honey and you're not, I don't know. I'm trying to make, you get my point. It just doesn't work. And so having not played Palworld, that might be a case there where it just doesn't work or does work really well. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I think it's always up for debate on whether or not people think that having features mashed together is going to work or not. It's gonna fall depending on what you're comfortable with.
Mhm.
Um, I did want to bring up because you brought up the fact that Gotham Knights was not part of the Arkham verse,
Mhm.
and that being giving it its freedom to be able to play in a world where they aren't beholden to that narrative that was already established with the Arkham verse.
Mhm.
I I could be wrong here, but I remember people being upset that it wasn't.
People were upset that it wasn't Arkham in gameplay. Well,
Okay.
I'm sure there's both, right? But like en masse.
Yeah.
This was the
That's
next
what I'm speaking to.
Yeah, this was the next big DC game. Gotham Knights was at the time. And it didn't have the free flow system that made Rocksteady famous. Finds you that made its way into Spider-Man and a number of other games. The Lord of the Rings games like Shadow of Mordor,
Mhm.
Shadow of War, etc. Mind you, neither does Suicide Squad. It's really weird. Like there's no free flow, and like their take on it with guns, bad, doesn't work. Um,
Mm.
it's very strange. I wrote a review, a second take review for Suicide for Season Gaming on Gotham Knights, and it comes down largely like how much fun you have is going to depend on what you're there for, right?
Mm.
Suicide Squad will depend on what you want, whether you want a live service looter shooter, whether you want a narrative experience, because it tries to do both, and it stumbles because it tries to do both, but it doesn't stumble in the ways that like Avengers stumbled, where technical issues were rampant, where people were frustrated with not feeling powered up in time. Like there were odd elements. It learned from a lot of Avengers mistakes. The problem here is that once it opens up, it feels fetch questy and disrespects its heritage. Um, and I genuinely think, as a result of IGN's massive social, I say social, like in the social spaces, massive kerfuffle
Mhm.
from everything from Destin Legary's footage that wasn't his that people were attacking for, to his commentary on that, to the Tom Marks comment about not getting codes. Everything around Suicide Squad's preview coverage on IGN will garner people to play this game and either side with IGN, side with Suicide Squad, which is a dumb way to enjoy your games, for the record. But I've watched a lot of commentary on my social feeds where people are like, oh, IGN's the worst, or oh, IGN got it right. And people are rallying. And it's like, yo, you don't need to pick sides here. If anybody gets to be frustrated with IGN, I think it's Luke Lohr and the Xbox expansion pass over the last 2 weeks, because my comment about plagiarism never occurred. And people were saying that I said they plagiarized us. They never once
Mhm.
plagiarized us. I'm going to make that very clear for everybody. IGN never plagiarized the Xbox expansion pass. They had an opportunity to credit us. They chose not to. They either ignored or missed the email where I sent them, and then they locked onto something else. That
This is
is,
about the Cliff Bleszinski thing, just as reference.
oh, yeah, exactly. But they did not plagiarize us, and they have their own set of issues and problems that comes with being the biggest outlet on the planet.
For
I'm not
gaming.
mad at them for their for gaming. I don't know, whatever. I'm not mad at them for their Suicide Squad coverage. I don't have a bone to pick with their Suicide Squad coverage. I get to speak to Travis at IGN pretty regularly. I get a chance to message some of them here and there, and like, I don't like that that in our social spaces people have taken sides here, because that's a dumb way to enjoy your games. It's not good.
It's
Play it
it,
if you
it
like it.
Yeah, this is one of those things where people have a torch and a pitchfork against IGN. A lot of it's coming down to that. A lot of it is coming to people not liking IGN as an outlet versus the game that's actually coming out. And I think it's better just to kind of look at the gameplay, see if it's something that you'll enjoy, speak to people that you trust regarding like whether or not they would recommend it to you. I personally, at the moment, am satisfied with the money that I've spent on it. I've enjoyed the time that I have. I look forward to going back in and playing some more of it to actually like kind of build up my arsenal before I take on the first Justice League member.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also seen parts of the game later on where people are further into the story, and I'm looking forward to those because yeah, that was a little bit of spoiler for me, but at the same time, I am very impressed with what happened during those moments where I'm like, Dude, that was really cool. I'm genuinely looking forward to jumping back in and actually getting a chance to do it. So I think that if it's something that you're interested in, if you can handle the Suicide Squad at the just the bare level of like, I'm okay with their humor and with what they are, and you want to try out that whole thing with the traversal and stuff and give it a chance, I would say go for it. If not, this is one of those games that I think it's easy enough to say like there will be other things coming soon that may be more of an investment for you, that you could let this sit and pick it up later.
I think the game's about to fall off the rails for you. I think. I don't know. I think the more time you put in, the more you'll run into that dichotomy, that bumping of heads that it has. And
I'm a Destiny player, though.
I don't think that'll matter.
You don't think having like a preference to looter shooters will keep me invested?
No, not in this. I don't know that it'll keep you invested or not invested. I think there are plenty of people that will enjoy the looter shooter. I can see myself playing this with the boys once everybody gets it on sale or whatnot in time, just to play, because parts of it can be very fun. But I'm saying the experience you're having right now is going to fall apart, and it will not be the same. That's not to say you won't like it, but it will not be the same. Like, there is none better experience than going through that arc. Did you go through the Batman experience?
Yeah, that was cool.
Like, it was the coolest thing. It was so much fun, so dope.
So like from a Destiny perspective, I'm used to having like, there's a weekly story mission. It's very curated. You go through the narrative, you get the story, and then you're like, all right, I pop right back out and jump into world events and stuff, because that's how you progress through the weekly challenges and stuff. So having that break between like story and just like grinding is not something fresh to Destiny players. Like we should be very accustomed to that. And that's what this feels a lot like. It's like, okay, well, I'm done doing my story bits. I'll wait another week for the next little story bit. Until then, I'm going to be grinding out like events and strikes and, you know, doing raids with the crew and whatnot. And then when that's all said and done and a week has passed, it's time to jump back in and get focused in on the story and start digging into that narrative and figuring out what's going on. And then what we do, we'll go back and repeat a bunch of the same strikes and missions and world events and stuff like we always do. Like that's nothing new to me.
Sure. I'll be curious to know, because to me it really did fall off, and I think the boss fights are bad so far. They are not good so far, right? 14 hours. I still need to battle Batman and Superman. They are still on my to-do list. And then, like, again, that's not to say the game is or isn't that long, because you can get distracted in the open world or go do missions, right? Like, but we'll see. We are going to check back in. But right now, at this point, having not finished and hearing where you are, where I am, I do not recommend anybody but DC fans buy this at full price. That is where I am at in this moment, because there is love in this game, but we'll see. I would recommend Gotham Knights all day. I like Gotham Knights a lot, and plenty of people won't play that because it didn't do it for them. Suicide Squad feels more divisive than Gotham Knights did. With Gotham Knights, you knew what you were getting, and it stayed with that for the majority of the game. I don't see that with Suicide Squad, but something to watch. I like the roadmap for content. I like their pricing for that content at this moment, right? Like, some of their stores starting to get a little, we'll see. But we'll see. We'll see. Either way, I do think they killed the franchise. I do think Rocksteady's going to have layoffs. This feels, I feel like it's not going to do well, but don't want to be right. I love DC. I hope they pivot away. We don't wait 9 years for the next game. They've got a recipe for a open world Superman game, or making use of Oliver Queen or something. They've got open world opportunities here with even the same city, and I'd be fine with that. So, all right, let's transition to other topics. Of course, we had the PlayStation State of Play, which brought with it some interesting topics there. No mention of either Sea of Thieves on PlayStation, which was amusingly in the air as a possibility. Also, Hi-Fi Rush didn't make its way to PlayStation in this State of Play. A lot of debate on a number of different social platforms, news outlets, looking into both what insiders are saying, like Stephen Totillo, and what data mines are revealing in Hi-Fi Rush, multiple cosmetics were data mined to look like there is a Switch version on the way, as well as a PlayStation version on the way, referencing different slogans for each one. For example, the green one with the Xbox coloring, shadow dropped. The red one with the Switch coloring was something like, play on the go or something akin to that.
Yeah, it was rock out anywhere, which makes sense for a Switch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so the data mine stuff is suggestive. I certainly wouldn't say confirmed at all, right? We don't know what Xbox's strategy is, but I will tell you, in the wake of the Steven Totillo interview where he said on our show, or rather he doubled down on our show, that Sea of Thieves is coming to PlayStation, 2 or 3 insiders that travel the Xbox space reached out to me and were like, yep, that's happening. Okay, cool. We'll see. We'll see. They are known insiders with proven track records, like people that get cited in articles all the time. And all right, we'll see what happens. But either way, those 2 games did not make it into the PlayStation State of Play.
Yeah. I wonder how, if this is something that's going to eventually happen, how they're going to address it. If it's something that will just be a press release, is it something that Sony will take charge of? Is it something that Nintendo will take charge of? We've got a potential for the Nintendo Switch to release their new console in this year. It's very possible that they could have Hi-Fi Rush as one of those launch titles for their new console. And interestingly enough, the Rock Out Anywhere is doing like the devil horns, but because of the way the thing is it's just 4 fingers, so it's missing like the pinky, and the 2 fingers that are up, it's 2 fingers. It's a Switch 2.
Oh, you're over examining.
No, that's what everyone is doing right now with this. Right?
Is it on Phil Spencer's shelf?
Yeah, this is the on Phil Spencer's shelf equivalent to Hi-Fi Rush coming to other consoles. It'll be interesting to see if that's what actually happens. But regardless, I think it was interesting to kind of watch the state of play for Sony and kind of see what are some of the titles that are probably going to be coming to other consoles, which is usually the case. And I haven't had a chance to really dive in to see what games are going to be coming to Xbox, but I do say that of the ones that could potentially come to Xbox, I think V Rising is one that everyone should definitely be keeping an eye out on if that actually makes its way to Xbox, as well as if what's it called, Dragon's Dogma 2. I'm not sure if that one's been one that's confirmed for Xbox either. But
yes, that is a multi-plat game. Yes. I would say, this is my theory about Switch 2.
Yeah.
Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, Call of Duty, Diablo, all coming to Switch 2. All of them. And now we must account for the Activision Blizzard games as Xbox games. I will not buy into the narrative no longer. This isn't an Xbox game. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You don't get to keep making that argument. I'm not saying you, but the narrative is not if I don't want it to be I can't say Suicide Squad's not an Arkhamverse game. Yes, it is, whether I want it to be or not. Right? Mm-hmm. I can't say that these are not Xbox games. Xbox owns them. If they're now responsible for them. Any good or bad press is now Xbox's good or bad press, and should and will be reported as such. Xbox's Q2 fiscal reports include Activision Blizzard. That is a thing that they happen, and that's why you see game revenue up 49%, content and services up 6%, hardware revenue up 3%, which is in contrast. I thought that was not doing so well. But I'll
take it.
Yeah, cool, rock on. But now that Activision Blizzard is owned, those are Xbox games. I don't mind if they're multi-plat. If people are playing them and I can play them where I want. Cool. And next to all that Activision Blizzard news is we now have our new president of Activision Blizzard, right? Not Bobby Kotick, Not a known name that I was familiar with.
Mike Ybarra, by the way, just as a quick correction, was former president, not Bobby Kotick.
Right, Blizzard, yes, I'm sorry. Blizzard. I need to be very clear. Thank you. Blizzard's new president. Blizzard, not Activision Blizzard. Sorry. Johanna Faries. Is it Faries or Faries? Do you know?
I think it's Faries, but
Faries?
I haven't heard it out loud, so I'm open to being wrong about that.
Yeah, but she is now in there. I like this for a couple of reasons. On the optics business side, we've got a woman of color in charge of a company that has notoriously struggled with both inclusion and the treatment of its employees. All those unionizations and lawsuits about mistreatment of both women and elements of diversity, that's a problem. But it's not that she's a woman of color that I love so much. It's that she is those things next to an impressive track record of both being a gamer and working in management on something as prolific as the Call of Duty franchise. In a statement on socials, she talked about how she's currently playing Diablo 4, Call of Duty, and Baldur's Gate 3. I love that. I think that's fantastic. She, to me, has very much the same energy as Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond and a number of other leadership roles at Xbox, which makes them, I think, different than, say, like your Jim Ryan at Sony, in that she, as well as Phil and Sarah, they feel like business people as well as gamers. There is a one of us feeling that comes along with it. And you and I have cautioned before not to evangelize, and I don't know her from anyone, but the presentation feels very much that she cares about both the business and the games, which we haven't always been able to say about executives in the gaming space.
Yeah, I think if you look at like PlayStation's most recent president, not a person who I would say big in games, and you could say that's a positive or negative. You could say like Jim Ryan's impact on PlayStation will always be remembered as a positive. I don't see that as a debate really, because I think he's done a lot for PlayStation. Whether or not that's benefited consumers is always in question. But I tend to side better with people who have a good work-life balance, who enjoy games while being in the game industry business. It's like, can you really trust an executive that doesn't really partake of their own, Hair Club for Businessmen? Not only is she a member, she's also, the owner. It's like, I trust people who actually play the video games that they're working on, because at a high level, they can see the content that's being put out and understand at a fundamental level of like why these are enjoyable, what's wrong with them, what's bad about them, and what's good about them, and where a business should lead. If you have a better understanding of like, if I'm enjoying Baldur's Gate 3 and Blizzard is not making anything like Baldur's Gate 3, is there a team that we can look into to start prototyping the possibility of making something like a Baldur's Gate 3? Is there ways that we can start to take some of the success and design choices that go from something like that into, say, like a Warcraft game? And that's just that is a positive win for consumers, because then they're getting something from the business that they like, that was based off of something that was not from their business that everyone else liked. Stuff like that is great.
I fully agree. I hope that the good vibes that we're feeling now with this hire, at least that I'm feeling right now, do indeed come to fruition, because I'm excited to see just what happens with it. And I hope, more importantly, that the employees that are at Blizzard, and then I suppose tangentially related at Activision Blizzard, feel like this is a move that is in the direction they need it to be. It is hard to feel optimistic in the wake of 1,900 people laid off. But I think those layoffs a lot of them were already known to be coming, right? I don't know how they were rolled out. My heart goes out to all of them. The human side of that is painful and sad, but I have to imagine there is a vibe that is going to be different going forward. And I hope that it is one that the employees there are excited about, because it incentivizes talent. I don't think I can look at a single Sony released game uh, and not see talent oozing from what they put out. That's not an argument of crunch or direction or anything else, but talent. And whereas I look at some of the Xbox release games and there's a question, and I don't like that there's a question sometimes.
Yeah.
That's kind of a bummer, you know? All right. Couple other smaller titles. We had a number of games get updates by either in the way of season content or delivery of new patches and updates. Halo got its big update, which would have effectively been Season 6, but it is no longer now that the Master Chief team has taken over. So in that, we got a new map. We got a new armor core, new abilities for customization, and more Forge content. Pretty darn cool to see there. Call of Duty, we got its date, and we know that Season 2 is arriving soon. Interested to see kind of where that goes. We really enjoyed I really enjoyed Season 1.
I really enjoyed Season 1 too, especially that Christmas stuff that they put out. That was fantastic. And we're supposed to be getting a Horde mode.
Yeah, now we're getting a Horde mode, which is different than zombies, which I really like zombies. I'm really excited to see what they've got here. This feels like a good direction for Modern Warfare 3 Season 2. The interesting part I found was like people that kept dogging on, Modern Warfare 3 on its release. Yeah, this game's rocking and rolling. Reviews do not matter. So if you're a Suicide Squad fan and you're seeing reviews, if you like it, rock on and play it. I'm playing a lot of Call of Duty and I like it a lot. So there you go. I did dive into Diablo Season 3, which Season 2 was revered, loved. Season 1, not at all. Launch, great. So this team's kind of ebbing and flowing. Season 3 was not received well on its launch, and it had a really quick address of some of those issues, buffs, debuffs. They changed things very quickly in Season 3. And now there is, I think, a consensus that it's good, not great. It's okay. They're doing a new content delivery, like a new seasonal event within this season, the Lunar Awakening, which will give a lot of gold, a lot of XP. They've also changed the XP grind so that people can level up faster. Season 3 seems to be 2 steps forward, 1 back, whereas Season 2 is just 2 steps forward. Season 1 was a step back, so take that how you like. I'm enjoying it. I don't like playing as a barb, by the way. I've done Necro, I've done Sorcerer.
I need to show you like what my barb feels like and see if that looks better or more interesting to you. That's fine. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm going to my hardcore 50 achievement and then I'm moving on. I'll switch to a rogue or something because I loved Necro.
Playing as a barb in hardcore is a bad idea just to begin with, but also the fact that you're playing hardcore takes a lot of the fun out of what I enjoy about Diablo, which is just being able to die and not care.
That is a very fair criticism. And once I get to 50, I'm done with hardcore and I'm restarting something. So I will tackle a new character or whatever. But hardcore, I'm only doing it for the achievement. But I've done Sorcerer, I've done Necro. I love Necro. Sorcerer, I liked.
You like them dead bodies. All right.
When's this going on? When's what going on?
The lunar thing?
I think it's February 6th that it's starting, and it's going to run through February 20th. Love that timeline, by the way, because it's not like a week and you're done. Sometimes these COD events that are quick, and COD does a good job of giving you regular events for XP boosts to fill out your battle pass. Fortnite as well. But 6th through the 20th, cool, nice. No love lost if you don't get in there, but lots of buffs, lots of XP boosts. I'm there for it. Cool deal.
Yeah, cool, definitely.
Starfield also got a patch, Logan. Nice to see that.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Support for PC. So any of you AMD graphics card people out there that are jealous of the NVIDIA troops who have that frame generation with DLSS, FSR 3 support now available, which if you're not familiar, more frames for less power requirements for your graphics card. So if your graphics card supports FSR 3, you'll be able to play Starfield at something higher than 30 frames per second, which we told was not possible on Xbox, which I still think is a complete lie. But
totally,
it's going to be nice, and they've done a lot of passes over character animations, over quest chains, over bug fixes, things like that. Random things like I think I read the patch notes. They said we fixed the invisible enemies on certain planets, and it's like, wait, was that not intended? I just thought that it was intended. I couldn't see them. So yeah, there's definitely a good pass. This is just the first patch of many. There's going to be a lot of content that will eventually come to Starfield. It definitely feels like the zeitgeist has worn off since September of last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing videos on my timeline on YouTube kind of telling me about the latest mods and stuff. But then again, I haven't played in a while, so I have a NVIDIA 4080 Super that I ordered on Thursday that is arriving next Thursday on the 8th, I think. When that bad boy gets in, I'm going to plug it into this brand new PC. I'm going to download Starfield, and I'm going to start seeing what that game could look like with more than 30 frames, and see if I can finally have a good experience frame rate wise with this game, as opposed to the 30 frames that I endured with this really beautiful controller that I absolutely love. I still think this is one of the best controllers. I think the controller thing for Starfield is still one of the best, but I'm going to jump back in. And thankfully, I think cross save is everywhere. So I think if I download the PC Xbox version of it through the Windows Store or through the Xbox app, I'll be able to pick up on my playthrough and jump right back into one of the new game pluses that I have.
Yep, it's good stuff. Yeah. I think next to the updates we've seen in all the games that I listed, plus Sea of Thieves Season 11, the future of delivery for content in Xbox titles is quite good. Quite good. I really like Season 11 of Sea of Thieves. We jumped in the other night, had a good old time. I really felt good to be back on the seas, so I'm hoping to get some more time in there with our buddies, because that was fun.
Which is funny, because we had a really good time with Fortnite last night too.
We did.
And there's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle event going on soon for that, and Metal Gear Solid's available where you can get Solid Snake now. There's too much, but quietly, like after the game nature of 2023, I was almost glad that I didn't like Suicide Squad, or that I don't like Suicide. I was almost like, all right, because I'm loving these events, right? I'm having a good time. Yeah. So, all right, let's get to some listener questions here. All right.
We had a couple people write in, which we're really appreciative and grateful for. Several supporters of the show also jumped in and listened to our Trophy Room XEP crossover with the Nerd Chat, where we did live game fantasy critic, and I don't know sports ball, but we are ranked 3rd out of 3 in terms of prospective wins against them. Yeah. As a not competitive person, that didn't bother me in the slightest. I still think we're fine. We'll see, but we are in that.
Win or lose, I think that we were really smart with our picks.
Same.
And it's funny because when you look at the other two teams and what they picked, I still think that they had really good picks as well too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch for sure, especially because we got to cross-pollinate with people that support our content and are fun with us, and we support them. Like, I watch the Nerd Chat every week. I watch Trophy Room once every other year. So, like, cool, So
yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's get to our listener questions. We have Todd Oxtra. He wrote in over on Twitter. He is a patron of ours, of course. He said, with rumors of a potential PlayStation portable device and other Steam OS window portable gaming systems, plus new Nintendo hardware, is it time for Xbox to partner with a hardware device to deliver the definitive Xbox native mobile experience? He's talking, of course, about not the PlayStation Portal, but news that PlayStation has ordered a number of, like, I want to say it's processors or some hardware for manufacturing of a portable device,
like a dedicated native playing experience, like a Switch or a Steam Deck.
Native being the word, right?
Yeah.
Is it time for Xbox to partner? PlayStation has put out the PSVRs 1 and 2, the Vita, and the PlayStation Portal, and they have mixed support of them, right? Like, there is a mixed level of support. The hardware on the PSVR 2 and the Vita, fantastic hardware. The Portal, people that have it seem to like it, but nobody talks about it. At least not that I see.
That's the thing, right? Like people who have it love it,
Right.
and everyone else is like, I don't need it.
Right. So I don't, debatable as a comparison point. Whereas I can play on my cloud-based devices any Xbox game that is in Game Pass. They still need to get game streaming for other stuff in there. The question being native, right?
Yeah.
If there was one, I'd buy it for sure. I'd want it. I would want it to sit downstairs and play games, to go somewhere and play games. I would want that. The counterpoint to that is how many games, how many games require online connection to be enjoyed properly? How many single player? Like, could you play Starfield single player without being connected?
Yeah.
I think so.
You can, but you do have to authenticate at a certain point.
So what about Redfall? I don't know.
Redfall, yeah. You can, well...
Hi-Fi Rush for sure.
Technically, no. I don't think you can do Redfall offline.
Mm-hmm. So here, Diablo? Nope. Can't do that
anymore.
Can't do that, right? Like, so I don't know. That's a good question. Would I buy it? Heck yeah.
The difference being is that having the authentication in online services is a lot less strained on a Wi-Fi system than streaming content directly to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's one thing if you just have a big dumb TV and you're streaming content to the TV because it's just displaying the content. There's no interaction elements of it. There's no latency that needs to be done between like a button press and a server recognition. Whereas if you're doing that over the stream and you don't have good internet, you're going to be impacted. You're going to see pixelation. You're going to see like that delay, that lag that you run in there. Having the native having the native download on hardware removes a lot of that because it's a lot less overhead on the Wi-Fi. And I'm not an engineer. That's just what I've understood about it. So I'm open to being wrong about that. Feel free to correct me. But having the native experience, even if it is still online connected, is a lot easier than streaming the entire effing game.
Apologies, I was muted as I typed because we have the mechanical keyboard. But you're right. You're right. I was listening to everything you say. I agree. I'm in for that device. But I'm in for that device for sure. Even if they did a portal, I'm in for it because it's my ecosystem.
See, I think you'd just be better off getting a Logitech G Cloud at that point. Because I don't think that if you're just going with a cloud-based system, there are already really good devices out right now that you can get on sale for like $200, which is the cost investment of a PlayStation Portal. You could have better connectivity with Bluetooth than a Portal. You can have access to both ecosystems as well as Steam through the Portal. And overall, the experience is just a much better thing. Like if you're going to go that route. To speak to Todd's question, as far as like having a dedicated partner for a handheld device, I absolutely think they should. I absolutely think that they should take like the Asus ROG Ally and have that be a licensed dedicated thing. It's up to the manufacturer to decide if they want that kind of partnership, though, because there's going to be caveats with those kind of legal agreements. But there's precedent set that these devices are in demand, whether it's a $300 device or a $1,000 device. People will buy these because it is a great way to play games. It's always going to come down to what is the battery life? Like, is it something that's going to be supported properly? What are the engineers right now at Xbox working on? Are they working on improving the PC experience on their app? Are they working on making sure that the Windows experience on these handheld devices is a better experience? Like, what is the UX for these compared to right now? They could be making their own version of this if they really, really wanted to. And I think that they should. I think the thing is there. It's funny because I've been saying I've wanted one of these for a long time and people are telling me I'm dumb. So I'm trying to figure out why people are changing their minds on this now.
Because it says Xbox on it.
Because it says Xbox on it.
I'm that dumb. And like, I glazed over hearing all of your logic because it doesn't have Xbox on it. And I'm thinking people are that dumb. I'm not even like, it's not a diss, a joke. I'm not even messing. Like, I think people that, like, a lot of the people that bought the PlayStation Portal bought it because it said PlayStation on it.
100%.
You know, like,
You could have bought a Logitech G Cloud and had the same exact experience.
that's where I'm going. Like, if it says Xbox, the question is the Xbox brand name powerful enough to do something that's special like the Portal did? Because I mean, I don't think the Portal's doing great. I don't know that it's doing poorly, but like, it's not, you're not getting news every week, right? Portal sells X, sells Y, and outlets are being reported to on PS hardware with those two numbers combined.
Yeah. It's not the gangbanger that the Switch was when it came out. People aren't saying like this is the new way to be playing PlayStation games. And I think a lot of that is because of that cloud aspect of it.
Right.
If they had a dedicated handheld, which is what the rumors are saying based on Todd's question here, that would change whether or not people would be picking something up like this, because we know that people would buy something like that based on their the history of PlayStation. But PlayStation, not very good. I can't think of the word, but they're stewards of hardware that they make.
Yes, that's fine. They do not support their hardware in a way that I would want to be rewarded as a customer. Right.
I felt very left behind with the PSVR 2 support. I was anticipating from their first party on that device.
That's a shame.
Everything that's come out has all been like third party, and not all of the really great stuff is stuff that's available on it. There's been a good handful of times where I'm sitting here thinking, I need to sell my PSVR 2 because this ecosystem is not thriving the way the MetaQuest 3 is. And the MetaQuest 3, more expensive, but also better ecosystem, cord free, and they're still able to, and I realized, like, in hindsight, I am not playing VR for that long. I'm not playing VR long enough to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm running out of battery. This is a terrible experience. I'm playing VR for maybe like an hour, 2 hours most, where my body just will not allow me to play anymore. So being connected up to the PlayStation is now more just a hindrance than it is, if it was a cordless experience. So that, plus like the first party support, has really, really depressed me as far as like whether or not this has been a smart investment. Because I was expecting God of Wars, I was expecting Nathan Drake's, I was expecting Astrobots, and I'm not getting any of that. And that's, where's my Spider-Man?
Astrobot's what you should have gotten off the bat.
Dreams, where's my Dreams?
That game's dead, bro.
Did you see that they had a version? There's rumor. I don't want to talk about it. It's rumors, but there was news.
Well, next to that, Jam Pack Sam writes in on Threads. He's a patron as well. He says, with rumors that PlayStation is getting back into the handheld market, do you think Xbox is too big on the cloud gaming, being the way that people want to play on the go and missing out on dedicated handheld experience? We didn't give a yes or no to Todd's question. Let's give it to this one. Should Xbox make a native experience? Yes or no?
I think they should.
I think they should too.
A lot of the games that they have out right now are still supported by the Xbox One. I think the hardware that you can make right now can hit a price point that would still fall between something that is an acceptable between like a Series S and a Series X pricing, and still offer a good enough experience natively that would fall somewhere between an Xbox One X and an Xbox Series X.
I agree. So
I think they could do it. I think that it's going to be something that is got to have that support, that backing, and maybe they just suck it up and recognize that cloud gaming isn't as prolific as it can be now, knowing that it will be in the future, but in the meantime, people are still too connected to native experiences.
Agreed. Last question comes from Ellery over on Threads. She's a patron as well. You're given one thing to change in Suicide Squad. What would it be? I thought a lot about this.
Yeah.
We only get one, and here's mine. It's not gameplay. It's narrative based. Killing the Justice League, having a bad Justice League, a bad Superman is tired, and it's been done before. It's been done in Injustice 1, Injustice 2, Lego Batman 3, DC Villains. Was Brainiac going awry and the Suicide Squad having to save the day? I would have loved if the narrative, and I'm speaking about the narrative, not the game play, if the narrative was such that Suicide Squad was saving the day and the heroes were failing, but you weren't going after them. Like, you were fighting their own big bad. One thing that both Suicide Squad movies did well was let the Suicide Squad have their moment and not contend with the Justice League for attention. It was something that was worthwhile and good. And this narrative that we have here is, I think, a poor narrative, which sucks because it's done like with Rocksteady's love and passion and polish. But we've seen this before. We've seen bad Superman before. Like, if anything, I want Rocksteady to take the pieces of this game and make a good Superman game or a good hero game. We've been in the whole heroes are bad phase for DC for quite a while. Like, we've seen, even in Snyder's version, the bad Justice League threat was there. In Injustice 1 and 2, bad Justice League was there. Yeah. It's a tired narrative, and I'm over it. Like, give these anti-heroes their moment to be anti-heroes on their own, like James Gunn did, like David Ayer tried. Why is that funny? I don't understand.
Because I know why you're saying this, and it's counter to how you feel.
Wait, no, I'm okay. Then I'm not tracking. I don't know.
Okay, so the reason you're saying this is because you like your heroes to be heroes, not to be villains. Because we're playing games on a regular basis that have tired narratives that we're okay with because they're with heroes. And I'll point out Halo Infinite is a good example. You love heroes. You're okay with the narrative being the same. Like, let's go up against the bad guys. They've got the Covenant. They've got the Banished. They're all bad. We're going to go to a ring. We're going to shoot some aliens. But you're playing as the hero. This is a game where you're not playing as the hero and you're not liking that because you're not the hero. And that tired narrative is something that you do not personally enjoy. But thank God we're not a Nintendo podcast, because, buddy, like, Mario is always going after Bowser and Link is always going after Ganon, and we still love those games.
Yes, but I guess I don't get the humor. Maybe this is one of those Luke's not getting it moments. But when if we played a game where we played as Atriox, I would not want to fight the UNSC. Yeah. I'd want to fight a threat native to them or unique to them.
The fight is the native fight for the Banished in Atriox is currently the USNC. They kind of wiped their floor with them, so I'm not really sure if that's
actually, just to throw this out there, Cortana destroyed Doiseac, which was the homeworld of all the brutes, and then the brutes used pre-Covenant technology to destroy Cortana. I'm just throwing it out there. It's like the USC is not their main problem. I'm just throwing it. I'm just whatever.
Oh my God.
Just actually
go back to your all right.
But I would have loved the Suicide Squad to fight a unique thing. I'm tired of seeing the narrative of DC. Like, go watch The Flash. Like, they had to if you watch The Flash, like, they perverted their heroes to get their narrative. I'm tired of that. Like, it's just, we haven't had the good guy is good guy. Like, Deadpool is the anti-hero. He's the only thing going for Marvel right now that people are interested in, but he's not perverting the standard narrative. I don't know.
He's doing the narrative that is always been his narrative.
Right. And I would like to return to that for DC, because they're trying so hard to be edgy that, in fact, if they would go back to being formulaic, I think they would be more widely adopted. Formula is not a bad thing. To go back to your example, Mario, Zelda, look at PlayStation games. Formulaic is not a problem. And I think when you break formula, sometimes you unnecessarily hurt things.
I'm rubbing. I don't want to linger on this, but I am rubbing up against the fact that you say that the perverting of the anti-heroes or the Suicide Squad to fit the narrative of the Brainiac thing is tired, and then you saying that you also want them to go back to their traditional narrative, which is the tired thing.
Perverting the hero. Like, we don't need, like, so in the Flash movie, by the way, no one needs to watch this movie, so I'm spoiling the Flash movie right now. You know who the bad guy is? It's the Flash. Have you seen any of the 9 seasons of the Flash where he's the fastest man?
Actor or the character?
No, funny, but like the Flash is the bad guy in the Flash. Okay, like here we've got the heroes being the bad guy in Suicide Squad. They're perverting the nature of the hero, the corrupt hero. In Snyder's verse, the fear was the nightmare, where Superman is the bad guy, and in Lego DC Batman, the heroes were the bad guy, and the Suicide Squad saved the day. In Injustice, they pervert the heroes, they make them the bad guy. Now, Injustice did it really well, and that was the first kind of foray into that realm for a while, and then it just kept being the same thing. Like, go back to the formula. Give that. The reason Superman and Lois was popular on CW was because it was formulaic, it was hopeful, it was happy, it was positive. The reason that the Avengers was fun in the first one was because it was hopeful, it was positive. They got rid of the perversion as Loki stopped with their brains, and they went back and they saved the day, and they were good. Heroes can be good. It's okay to be uncomplicated in that realm. The joke against Lohr is that he wants his heroes to win and the villains to lose. Yes, but also that seems to work, right? Like,
I would change the verbiage of the tired narrative being the perversion of heroes, because I don't think that's the tired. I don't think that's the tired narrative. I think the heroes always win is the tired narrative in this case. The perversion of the heroes is the exception to the traditional outcome of these games. I think that would be the change in verbiage that I would do. By the way, Ellery, from my perspective on your question, I would change the combo system so that it doesn't include combat plus traversal to increase your combo streak to unlock abilities and stuff. I think that whole combo system is boring, and I hate having to think about, what my combo level is and whether or not I'm efficiently doing encounters properly. Like, I would just rather play the game and enjoy it for its smash button situation, as opposed to trying to like make sure that I'm throwing my boomerang and then zipping over somewhere and then punching someone and then zipping somewhere back and trying to boost up my score that way.
That's fair. My final point for today, it's very clear that Rocksteady's group loved what they worked on, worked very hard on it. They did polish the heck out of this game. There is clear passion in what they did. This does not feel like the release of a broken game or a bad like coupling. It just didn't work.
I'm glad they delayed it.
It's better than the alpha for sure.
Yeah, I think the delay was warranted, and I think they've done a really good job polishing it since. But
agree.
Whether or not that hits with everyone is going to be kind of a more personal choice, I think, at this point.
Agreed. Look forward to a video review. I think that is something we're going to try. See if it works. It's a lot of work, and it won't be a regular occurrence every time, all the time. But it is something I think we'll try. We'll give it a go. Yeah. I'm working on some indie interviews in the coming weeks. Take a break from the big stuff. That was a lot. So we'll see how that goes. For sure. Logan, where can people find you on socials? What should they be looking for in Keelhauled?
Things going on with Keelhauled. I'm going to be jumping into the patch notes for season 11 this week. So if you're curious to find out like what kind of changed with the game, as opposed to last week's episode where it was purely just like impressions based from the community, this week is going to be focused on kind of breaking down like what to expect going into season 11 if you've been keeping up with it, or you're just kind of curious like what the actual patch notes dived into. Plus there's some stuff that I'll probably be talking about with my own personal experience, just to kind of share my feelings on that. But that's Keelhauled. So if you like Sea of Thieves, or you're interested in Sea of Thieves, especially given the foundational changes that they've done to make it easier for people to get into this year, check that out. Otherwise, I'm just over on socials, CAPT_LOGUN. If you're in the Discord, I'll probably be chatting with you guys later on.
There you go. You can find me on socials at InsipidGhost. Been working a lot over on Threads to build that community there. Had a great conversation with Shannon Loftus just in exchange, which was kind of cool. But I would love for you guys to check me out there. If you haven't checked out the interviews that we've alluded to in the past week or so, please do so. Have a fantastic rest of your week, everyone. Take care.